aga mul on hea meel tegelikult teile tutvustada järgmist esinejat, Julian Popovi, kes on selle Reinu poolt demonstreeritud targa linna või inimeste vaheliste suhete või eila siin tsiteeritud Florida ütluste nagu näide, et kus me siin sügisesel kohtumisel Kopenhaagenis sellise programmi nagu City We Like raames Euroopa Kliimaagentuuri juhtidega nii-öelda saime interneti teel kokku ja saime tõesti suurepärase Kopenhaageni targa linna tuuri tutvustuse läbi ja kuidagi õhtusel istumisel, nagu Rein ütles, õlle või veiniklaasi taga see arutatud, Rakvere teeb ka siin tarku lahendusi ja Julian, kes on juhtiv konsultant Euroopa Kliimaagentuuri juures ja ka oma taustalt Bulgaaria päritoluga olnud ka Bulgaaria keskkonnaminister, aga alaliselt elab Londonis, oli valmis tulema rääkima sellest, et ka Euroopa Kliimaagentuuril on järgmises rahastusperioodis päris põnevaid lahendusi tarkade hoonete ja targa linnaruumi osas, nii et palun, Julian, sinu kord.
Thank you. Can I use that? So what do I have to press? Working? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Andres, for inviting me and for this introduction. I'm very happy to be here. I will, in the next few minutes, I will speak not so much about something that you don't know, but I know, but I will be trying to understand more something that is a bit of a mystery for me and I don't fully understand. And this is how actually Estonia is working. And that in the framework of the future of the energy systems and also the future development of the smart home, smart cities, and the smart grids. I'll focus more on energy. And we will... What? Is that what I have to press? Okay. Right, okay, got it. So a few words about the future of energy, I mean the energy systems. I very much agree with lots of the things, with everything that we heard in the previous presentation. When we talk about energy, we are understanding that the future is definitely moving towards decarbonization of the energy systems. We're moving very much to decentralized production, decentralized ownership. Also to electrification. The electrification of the energy system is something that's been debated quite a lot. And if you debate that issue with people who are very much involved with, I don't know, gas import, for instance, very contentious issue at the moment in Bulgaria because of the start of the building of South Stream, which will probably strengthen the position of Russia in Bulgaria, which many people don't want. You will hear that, well, it's not about the electrification, it's about supplying gas and clean fuel and so on. But I'm a firm believer that the energy systems are moving towards electricity more and more. We're talking more and more about open markets, and the energy markets of Europe are getting more and more open, more in Estonia than in Bulgaria, for instance. But as a whole, also the European market is opening, not just in regulatory way, but also in technical way, which is very important. One other very important, I think, trend in the energy and the electricity system is that we will start replacing the idea of import and export. We will stop thinking about Estonia exporting electricity to Finland, but much more about the interdependency between the two countries. Very much in the way we can see that, for instance, between Denmark and Norway, where Denmark, because of its overproduction of wind energy, is transferring its energy to Norway, storing it there, and when it needs it, brings it back. So that this is not exactly export and import. This is this new trend and interdependency of the energy system, cross-border interdependency. And of course, we have a very high system complexity, which also is linked with the I mean, that's an invented word, internetization of the energy system. And the energy system will become more and more like internet, not just built like internet, but also dependent on internet in various ways. I will say something about that. But because we're starting from the houses, I want to focus a little bit on a trend in the energy systems of the energy coming back home. This first picture is from, I think it is the earliest Neolithic house that is fully uncovered. And this is a furnace in the middle. This is a site in the center of Bulgaria. And it is actually a home energy system, because this is not just a place where you have fire, but you use it for cooking, for various other things. So it's a bit more complex. Many years later, now we're talking about the smart home, and the smart house is bringing back the energy in the house, but not just bringing to use it in the house, but also to produce it and to manage it, and also to own it. I want to especially make a point here in this picture about this bit, the electric car, because I will mention it later again. Together with the change in the house and the appearance of the smart house, we also have the change of the ownership and the structure of the ownership of the energy system. And that's very important, because we very often think about the smart house just as a house. Well, like we have a smartphone, we have a smart house. It's a nicer house, it's a warmer house, it's a more efficient house. But we very much think in terms of the building, which is our own building or our office building or whatever. But actually the house is become major part of the energy system, of the national energy system, and also the international energy system. And this is a very interesting graph. I love it. It shows the current, 3 years ago, the ownership structure of the newly installed renewable energy in Germany. So it shows that out of this 53 gigawatt, 53 gigawatt capacity installed in 2010 is massive thing. Now it's over 70 gigawatt installed renewable energy capacity in Germany. More than 50% of that is owned by individuals and farmers. So these are these smart houses these ones. I mean, very much in that kind of shape. So you see how that changes the energy structure of the biggest economy of Europe. Only 6.5% is owned by the big energy companies. So it's not so strange when we're looking at this picture that some of the energy companies are starting to close their coal power plants, and basically they're in a panic. They're in a panic because of this trend of changing the structure of the whole national energy system because of the basically smart house. And so this smart house and the linking of the smart houses is telling us that something is happening, and something is happening with the grid. But one thing that I think is very important is that we don't know what the shape and what the design of the future grid will be. I mean, there are a lot of people who are visionaries, and they say we'll have a super grid in Europe. High voltage direct current cables going from Greece to Norway and from England to I don't know where, and they will exchange the massive generation of electricity, renewable electricity. And there are other visionaries who are saying, well, we're not going to have any super grids. We will have off-grid houses, we'll have community grids, and so on. The truth is that we don't know. We don't know. Things are moving so quickly that we really don't know. And here's the implication, in my view, about the European policies and also the national policies related to energy and smart grid. They have to encourage research and development. Exactly because we don't know, we have to be prepared with research and development. They have to encourage enterprise. Not build grids, but encourage enterprise. They have to experiment, to encourage experimentation, and not to have the fear of failure. And also, it's very important for the future of the energy system to develop our education and our energy intelligence. I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't have to know anything about communication. Now everybody is intelligent and educated in IT systems, in using smartphones, using internet, and so on and so on. So we developed this internet, this communication intelligence, because we had to. In the same way, we have to do it with energy. We have to start understanding energy. Everybody has to understand energy, since everybody will become what some people use this very ugly word, prosumers, both producers and consumers of energy. But that was the beautiful part. The truth, however, is that Europe, and because I promised that I will talk a bit about European policies, I mean, Europe is lagging behind in all this game. Europe started with quite a lot of things as a front runner. It has some of the most ambitious climate policies, for instance, low carbon policies, but it's lagging behind. It's lagging behind US, lagging behind Japan, sadly also behind China. We do have this view of Europe as some kind of a brain powerhouse where we're very clever, we invent things, and then the silly Chinese are the manufacturers, they produce things and they send them back. Well, that's not exactly the case anymore. I will give you just two examples. A recent study by MIT showed the cumulative number of patents in clean energy. So for instance, solar energy, Japan is definitely leading, followed by US, followed by China, and only then the European Union is coming. So this is a very interesting thing, because suddenly China, which we're seeing as, and until 2-3 years ago, we're seeing almost as a developing country, is leading the European Union in number of patents. When we're talking about smart grids, in 2012, the United States invested $4.3 billion, China invested $3.2 billion in smart grids, and EU invested $1.4. The first country in the world that fully installed smart meters is Italy. Admittedly, they installed the smart meters in the whole country in order to reduce the stealing of electricity. That was one of the main things. But nevertheless, one European country, major European country, was leading in the smart solutions on a national basis. Again, that's not exactly the case anymore. So, and this, I think, is my final slide, and it responds to the initial question, can Estonia become an energy leader, European energy leader? Well, what are actually the building blocks of a future energy system? And these are, this is a list of popular facts about Estonia, which I'm not an expert on Estonia, but we all know a few things about this country. One building block is a very strong energy penetration. You have one of the highest in the world. Obviously, this is a country with strong IT public entrepreneurship, if I can say it, call it like that, because in some way you are the first country that introduced online voting. You also introduced the first network for fast charging of electric cars. So electric cars in the future energy system are very important because they're not just electric cars, they're a balancing factor of the energy system, and that's why I was pointing at this car in the picture. They're batteries. You can charge your car at 3 o'clock in the morning when you might have a very cheap electricity, and then make an omelette on this energy at 7 o'clock in the morning when electricity might be very expensive. And it is possible that the price of electricity can change every single minute. That's not something that we will not envisage. You have one of the most advanced electronic governments. When I was in government, we were discussing how to develop the Bulgarian electronic government, and one of the ideas was, well, why don't we get the whole government and go to Estonia for a week, and then we'll know how to do it. You have a very strong entrepreneurial culture. What I'm hearing is that probably you will introduce the near zero energy building standards earlier than 2020. Which is also part of the energy system. And you have one of the most rapidly increasing renewable energy shares in the energy mix. And finally, something that I've noticed and is very interesting politically is that Estonia is consistently voting independently about climate and energy issues in the European Union. Usually, you have various interest groups from the West European countries, and the East European countries, the new member states, vote as a pack, usually led by Poland. And there are a number of issues that they all agree on, but Estonia don't agree on this. It doesn't agree on various things, because it has a very kind of independent policy position. And when I asked one of your deputy ministers once, why is that? And he said, I don't know. I mean, we're just discussing things and do what is best for the country. And that sounds very simple and common sense, but this is not the way many countries behave. So all these things sound like, how to say, random selection of nice and interesting facts about one country. But if we assume that the future of the energy systems is very much based on smart management of the energy, and not so much on centralized production of the energy, if it's based very much on the individual intelligence, individual entrepreneurship, the smart solutions, and the internetization of the energy system, So then we can say that these are the key ingredients that would make one community, small community or a national community, an energy leader. Because, I mean, I personally believe that it doesn't matter whether you produce all the energy for yourself. What matters is that whether in one larger European system you are technologically advanced and you have all the technologies, you have all the solutions, and also you are leading. Because the truth is that as a European Union, as European Commission, all these pan-European policies, they're not sufficient. They are ambitious in their in their words. They're ambitious in some kind of a general way, but as we can see from some figures, they're holding us back now. Countries like Japan and the United States and China and Korea, and I can start listing for various things, various other countries, Mexico and South Africa and various others, in various things are leading and moving ahead. So I have this assumption, and I will try to follow it in the future, that what you have as a national technological complexity is absolutely the right constellation of factors that can turn a small country that was part of the Soviet Union last time when I was here, could turn it into the energy leader of the European Union. And I think we will all be very grateful for that. Thank you.